watching and listening to Black Dog on YouTube and the Black She Dog on Twitter. Breaking Benjamin is named as a defendant in a civil tort sexual battery assault case cover-up that involves several defendants, including the Cotillion Ballroom. And these are some of the alleged defendants: Molly McCreary and Amanda McCreary. The young gentleman and Scotty McCreary is not named as a defendant in the action. And this is a case out of the United States District Court of Kansas. And I am the plaintiff because I am being deprived of my rights, or I believe I am, injustice in this case. And I'm going to point out some anomalies. There are some other parties who are also named as defendants in this case, including Rainbow Production Services, who's also known as New England Audio Tech, who is a relative, or the owner of the company is a relative on the paternal side of my child. And the allegations include them in coordinating an assault, for reporting the network linked to the Boston Marathon bombers. I was a part of an online team, and the information got out because the birth father harassed and cyberstalked me on the internet. And so we have a big mess. Benjamin Burnley is not named as involvement with the Boston Marathon bombers, nor is he named as a direct involvement in assaulting or battering me. He is only named as a party that could have a responsibility in the matter due to the contractual relationship. Hollywood Records is also named in this case in a separate event against the birth father client of mine, who is a disabled veteran. I'm his surrogate driver and helped to be his caretaker. But I'm going to show some anomalies in the case. So we'll start with some of the attorneys that the defendants hired just to silence this particular case. And one of them is Hinkle Law Firm. And we're going to take a look at some of the firm members. This is considered to be a number of super lawyers with this firm, and you'll see why in a minute. So they actually had to hire super lawyers to defend against me, who is considered to be a pro se litigant. Personally, I don't like using the term pro se because I think it violates Fifth Amendment rights. But that is another argument altogether at this point. And we'll read here that this particular firm has a number, including the one that I just pulled up, was a president of the Kansas Bar Foundation. There's some who others have out of this firm also, including the attorney that represented the defendant Burnley in this case, who was also the president of the bar. That makes them actual officials. So public officials are involved in suppressing this case. And since I filed a police report with the Wichita Police Department, it makes me a victim of a crime. And so this is a federal law violation. And he's also the member of the Kansas Bar Association in 1978. And he's been the co-chair of the American Bar Foundation. And that is kind of important to point out because there are allegations of Sixth Amendment rights, the right to hire an attorney, which is why she filed pro se, or why I filed pro se, excuse me. And so he is, of course, well admitted into the Supreme Court, the District Court. He also attended Boston College, So this is an interesting case on the backdrop of all of this. And the other attorney that has been appointed in all of this is also Kevin D. Case out of Case Linden PC out of Missouri. And you can see here, this is the guy here. He is also considered to be a super lawyer. He's involved in all kinds of litigating matters. He's even been admitted as far as the U.S. Supreme Court in cases. And that's important because there's evidence of ex parte communications that directly occurred with the United States Supreme Court. And then we go down, gives his credentials where he went to law school. He's also on the Defense Counsel Advisory Council for Zurich of North America, which handles claims against insurance companies, health, auto, all kinds of stuff like that. And also Universal Underwriters Insurance. And again, there's allegations that as a plaintiff, behind the backdrop of this case, that I am being deprived of access to health care insurance, and that I am also being denied proper medical treatment on purpose, which is leading to attempted murder if I don't get this treated. So, and obviously if I die, murder. We also have the Board of Trustees of North Kansas City Hospital. And so this could explain why the local area hospitals such as Wesley, via Ascension, and even out of state in Oklahoma and other areas, also even in Hutchinson, are deliberately denying me ER medical care on purpose. But we also have the City Planning Commission of North Kansas City. So he's in Missouri as a public official and a city councilman also in Kansas. So he is a dual representative, public officials in two different states. That's another argument altogether. But this guy needs to be investigated just simply for that. But a public official should not be allowed to suppress a private civil action. And so this is a clear civil rights and denial of justice, which I am pointing out. Another thing about Kevin D. Case is that he was hired by New England Audio Tech that does business as Rainbow Production Services. And Kevin D. Case did not notify the court that he is an indirect relative to me through the in-law maternal side of my adoptive family, Tony Marshall and Walter E. Marshall Jr. My aunt is Annette Case. And so they represent a New Hampshire case. I did grow up in New Hampshire, so this is a very interesting problem. And so as you can see that there is a serious problem of a clear violation of civil rights, and yet TMZ isn't around. Paparazzi isn't around. Mainstream media isn't around. So in some ways they are complicit in this, and they will be asking for even further problems if this continues. So this is the website of the Cotillion Ballroom, and you saw a previous photo, and I'll just show you just some interesting things. As you saw earlier, I had the name of a couple of the defendants, and their last names weren't known or confirmed at the time. And now, as you can see, they have edited out the name of Molly McCreary and Amanda Creary to try and keep them from getting served and possibly arrested for their crime. This individual, hold on, we'll go back a little bit. Right here is named Lance E. Schumann Leet, and he did not tell me that he was an employee for the Cotillion Ballroom and also a relative to the owner, Catherine Leslie. I also met this guy at BJ's Bar and Grill. I don't think that he's involved. I think he goes by the name of Troy. I'm not 100% positive. But he is not yet named as a defendant. But he did arrange the concert, or me attending the Breaking Benjamin concert. And I even had a pass to meet Breaking Benjamin, which I paid for. And I did not get to do that because I was assaulted by Molly McCreary, Amanda McCreary, and a few other people. Another one that assaulted me. I don't have his photo on Cotillion website because he works for New England Audio Tech. Is Bruce Gidson Andrews. And so, and the reason why is because New England Audio Tech will not allow me to access their website. So you can clearly see that they're probably trying to hide something. And we know that the birth father of my daughter is related to Hollis. And also there's a prior case that's very interesting that comes into play in this. And that was a previous Human Rights Commission complaint that I filed against a company called DeRose and Associates. It was a Kirby dealership. And the owner of that company, it's no longer operating out of New Hampshire, is also a relative to Jip Clark. So we have a child who is related to somebody that I filed a Human Rights Commission complaint. And so we have witness tampering and retaliation again. And this has been going on, I had thought at least for 20 years, but actually goes on even further to 40 years. Prior to my adoption, and I may do another part or video on that, discussing that case, because there's very unusual aspects involved. So I'm going to take a look at Molly McCreary, and I'm going to show how this links to the Boston Marathon bombers. Of course, we know in Rolling Stone, we have them right here, glorified on the cover of a magazine. Now they say, oh, our hearts go out to the victims of the Boston Marathon bombing. I'm not saying Rolling Stone is involved in coordinating the assault on me, but this just shows you the clear prejudice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at white pages. And we're going to show that there could have been arranged or coordinated to some extent. We're not going to put in any city or state, and you'll see why in a minute. We have Mary McCreary, who's 80 years old. As you can tell from the photo, Molly is not 80 years old, so that's not her. We do have a Molly McCreary who supposedly lives in Tucson, Arizona. No age listed. A couple Molly McCrearys in Idaho. Probably the same Molly in her 40s, and we know that at least from the picture that Molly is probably in her 20s. We have a Molly McCreary in Nashua, New Hampshire, in Greenville. Maybe she's the mother of this other Molly McCreary in her 20s. And then we have a McCreary and a McCreary. So these are probably different people. Of course, there could be a misspelling on the website. But I'm pretty sure that we have the right one here in her 20s. And we're going to take a look at this. And this is important because we find out not only did she live in Greenville, New Hampshire, but she lived at 64 West Hollis in Nashua, New Hampshire. But she may have grown up or spent some time in Watertown, Massachusetts. And of course, we know the Boston Marathon bombing occurred partly in Watertown, Massachusetts. And I wonder if she knew those boys. So maybe we have a motive for her to directly assault me. And it does show prearrangement. And we're going to look at another individual who is not named as a defendant, but was discovered after. We're going to look up, surprisingly, Lars Ulrich, San Francisco, California, who is also a celebrity and is a member of Metallica. And yes, I grew up listening to Metallica. I was definitely a fan of this. I am not saying that they support the Boston Marathon bombers at all. I'm saying that there is a party that might have interrupted something or caused a problem. And there's been other problems or anomalies involving the birth father side of the family. I don't know if Metallica has a contract with Rainbow Production Services. But what is interesting, we'll find. I'm not trying to get too far into their matter. I want to point out a name here. And this is Mary Lillian Weems. I don't know Marion Lillian Weems, but I do know my landlord. You're saying, what? Yeah, that's right, my landlord. Sorry, these are photos here. And you can see Ron Weems doing business as Rankin Enterprises, who is the landlord. And so we have evidence that even my residence was prearranged. Now, we got this from the Veterans Administration. He was on their list. Here you see his signature. And so I doubt that's a coincidence. I'm pretty sure he's related. And you can see I'm on here. But I'm also the surrogate driver. So those are just some pages from my lease that show that even where I live was prearranged. Again, I'm not alleging that Lars Ulrich supports terrorists. I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case with Benjamin Burnley. I think that there's there could be even another party involved. But what has gone on clearly are a number of continual injuries such as bruising, hair fallen out, and even a parasite infection. That is being ignored. Linked to this case, I do not believe that Molly McCurry infected me with a parasite. It could be from where I live here. It could be contaminated property. It could also have been when I had involvement in collecting. But here's another matter too. My address was stolen by some of the network when I lived in California. And this matter has not been taken care of. I even have a list of all the car plates that were parked there. There's another video on it. So Thomas gave out my personal information, which is a problem. And I did ask for witness protection. I obviously didn't get it. And so this complicates matters. But this is where I lived. Anastasia Krykova is actually a fashion designer for pageants. It is Krykova is a Russian name, but she does not work for the Russian government. So I also allege that I filed a petition for writ of certiorari before the United States Supreme Court. And as you can see, this is mail sent out to them. In addition, to, here it is. And you can see it was received official of the clerk of the Supreme Court of the U.S. And yet in the transcripts of the United States District Court, I also filed in the 10th Circuit before it got to the U.S. Supreme Court. But in the, they say that we never filed an appeal. But you can tell that we filed an appeal because it's received. So somebody's lying, and that would mean ex parte communication. You can also see here where the cotillion altered the bottom out. But this is Lancey Schumann. The case will probably be reopened, and perhaps some matters corrected. Again, you can see here that this was the original and that they removed that from their website. There are other matters going on. Also, after this case, including someone from Ocean City, New Jersey, which is, by the way, where Burnley lives. I'm not sure if this Adon Vera is my half-sibling. He was adopted out to another family, and I've never met him in person. And he started harassing me, writing, "Oh my God, it looks like you." And then he offered me a group with Blake and Benjamin. I'm not involved in any pornography, at least not by permission. But this tells me that this is an impersonator and not the real Adon Vera, because Adon Vera is actually my half-brother, and why would my half-brother give me pornography? Another thing that went on from the harassment of this account, and I had to report it to the authorities, was simulated child pornography. I obviously took that off, and I was very offended by that. I don't find child rape to be funny at all. And you can see here, I block them later on. But this here, as you can see, is the real Adon Vera. I don't know this Adon Vera at all. And you can clearly see this is the real Adon Vera. This Scott Boiler claims to be also my missing half-brother as well. And I don't think that he is. I had an older half-brother by the name of Kim. I also have another woman named Kimberly, who's using the name Kimberly Marshall, who helped Mr. Clark get away with stealing my kid. So there's all kinds of anomalies, and he doesn't want to pay his child support as well. But these are some of the injuries that are ongoing as a result of this. But there's no doubt that there's anomalies, and it's pretty disgusting, no matter how you look at it. This is what I looked like a year ago. And you can see a big difference here. And when your hair falls out or starts to fall out, or you get alopecia, your hair will stick up because it gets dry after falling out. So you can see the difference. You can also see the bruising in my legs. So it's gotten to the point of attempted murder now from these people, and this is just out of control harassment. I've even gotten hacking phone calls too. I also had an arranged kidnapping involving, again, the brother and the ex-wife, and that's another video.